Dear beloved church. We write this as youth and family ministry leaders who are saying that we love the church. It is out of this love that we as the church have a message for Canadian Baptists to hear. Ahead of us stand 7 obstacles. We as Canadian Baptists have neglected our own spiritual health and wellness. We have created church structures that hinder needed change. We have not engaged well in the significant issues of our time. We have not effectively fostered intergenerational relationships. We have embraced a discipleship that is failing our young people. We have underestimated the transformative power of God. We have embraced a culture of consumerism in our church. This doesn't have to remain the reality. We can change. We can make it happen. Right here, right now. In our neighborhoods, across our provinces, and throughout our country.
We're going to be going on an epic journey together. As we walk this journey, as we begin where we're at, this is not about a time of going, I'm trying to gain more knowledge, that I'm trying to gain just simply more insights, more facts or figures about Next Gen and ministry to them. Now, for this next 45 minutes, on this journey, as we walk this roadmap, we are committed to saying we are going to build an action plan. We're going to build something here together as we go to the middle spread of our program and say we are going to walk through something we can go back to our churches with and say it's not just what we talk about. It's not just what we think, and it's not just something that we learned, but we have a game plan that we are going to be able to implement when we leave assembly. What I want you to think is you look at the different obstacles. As you look at the different obstacles in the first section in your program there, page 22, ask yourself, think of yourself, think of your church, and say what maybe before we go on this journey, we've been on a journey, and we're seeing where it's taking us to reach the next generation. But what maybe do we need to unpack? What maybe do we need to first deal with some of those obstacles that have been in the way of us engaging the next generation? So that we can begin to fill our backpack with the tools and resources needed to do that. As the house lights come up, I'm going to give you just a moment here. And I want you to fill in just even one area, just one of the areas to focus on. You say, hey, this is one thing that we need to unpack as we begin on this journey.
There is hope. There is great opportunity. Maybe you feel like your church has no more kids or youth in it. Maybe you're caught up in challenges like cultural issues that are overwhelming, or struggles in leadership. These issues are overwhelming, and they distract us from our goal and our purpose in God and in the church. But there are great opportunities. Allow me to reveal to you that my generation provides the church with these opportunities to reach and engage us, if only you would take advantage of them. We want a church that will build bridges within the church and expand God's kingdom. We want a church that will connect the generations, both within the church and outside of it. We want a church that will invite us into meaningful leadership opportunities, because we can do it. We want a church that will dialogue with us on spiritual matters, because we do sense its importance. Finally, we want a church that will seek biblical justice alongside us, because it not only matters to us, it also matters to God. So there are opportunities. There is hope. You're not alone. And with these opportunities, come alongside us. Mentor and disciple us along this path.
So I want you to stop. And for this next moment, take a look at those 5 opportunities you see up here. Which one resonates with you the most? Take a moment to sit on it. And maybe even write down a couple of ideas that pop into your mind of what God's bringing to you right now. So go ahead and do that right now. Take a moment and do that.
As humans, we kind of know and intuitively understand our basic needs. Maslow even helped us with this. He said that we need water to drink, we need food to eat, and we need shelter in which to survive. These are absolutely essential to what it means to be human, and they're kind of common sense. But what's not common sense is that we have other needs. They're just as essential, just they're not talked about as much. They're kind of under the surface. They're kind of like felt needs. And these needs they drive our decisions. These needs affect our emotions, and they're hardwired into our DNA. the problem is unfortunately they can often go unmet. And one of these is our need to be known. And I'm not just talking information. I'm not just talking facts. Like, I could know your eye color, or you could know my preferred coffee drink. And if you actually do know me, you know I don't prefer coffee at all. And so it's not just facts, it's not just information. It's what does it mean to be fully known, to be fully understood by another individual. That is one of our essential needs. Another one is our need to belong. And this thing, it plays itself out every single day in every junior high cafeteria across the nation. Nobody wants to sit alone. We were created for community, therefore we crave community. It is an essential felt need. And another one is our need for success. And I'm not just talking about being rich, I'm not talking about being famous, because those things, they're pointless in themselves. What I'm talking about is our need for significance, that our lives would actually matter, that they'd make a difference, that we would be a part of something that is way bigger than ourselves. That is the type of success that we all universally need. And the last need is our need for freedom. And you might be thinking, Jake, I got that. I got this one. I live in the greatest country on the planet. And you know what? You do. You absolutely do. But I'm talking about a different freedom, because we're all a slave to something. Whether through choices or through circumstances, we often feel trapped. And in so, we don't fully live free. But we're going to talk about our felt needs. This is a topic that doesn't often get talked about, but they're absolutely essential. And unfortunately, these needs often go unmet.
So think about what that felt need might be like. Because the fact is, Jesus went to people with those felt needs. There were moments when they needed to see and he gave them sight. There were moments when they were hungry and he gave them food. And so it's a matter of, what is that tangible need that you look around? Maybe in your communities, it's those kids who just need someone to tutor them, to help them understand grade 6 math. I don't understand sometimes myself. Maybe for some of them, it's a place where they can actually feel safe to play and to enjoy God's creation. It's not a matter of going to where, of bringing them in because that we want them to be. It's a matter of going to meet them where they are. So where are they? Because the fact is, let's face it, a lot of times until those felt needs are met, they're not going to hear us. Jesus went to go meet those felt needs, but he didn't just leave them at the felt needs. He wanted to bring them to a deeper reality. So take a moment, take that minute right now. I want you to write down in your mind, what's that one or two ideas that you're thinking, hey, I can actually do that. That's something I see in our community. And so take a minute right now and write down one or two of those felt needs in your church and your community.
be with you on your journey to implement imaginative hope in your community. You will need others on this journey. This isn't just a community to action on this. These are individuals who will be able to help you implement in your community. Maybe that's a church leader like a pastor or an elder or a deacon. Perhaps that's a parent in your church. Maybe instead, it's a person from our team here, Next Gen team. Maybe it's a community leader who can give you insights on the youth and kids in your community.
And that's not it. When you're putting together your team, there's one real important person that you're going to want to put on your team to understand the imaginative hope and see where you're going. And it's a student. Make sure you got the voice of the next generation being part of speaking into how you're going to reach them, walk with them, and help them move closer to Jesus. What I'd like you to do right now is we're going to look at the who. So as the lights come up, in your booklet there's 5 spots for a who. Put names there. I'm not just saying the titles of church leader, parent, someone that understands next generation, a student. I want you to put names of people that you're saying, I'm going to go home. And this is the church pastor or leader that I need to make sure is on this imaginative hope team getting it. I need to make sure this is a parent, it's a key parent that we need to be talking to and we're sharing this with. Here's the key community there that gets the community around us and we want them in. I want you to think right now, who are those names of those people? And write those in right now. Begin to build the who is going on this journey with you. Because we don't go on the journey alone to reach the next generation and be in the church. We need to be intentional on who comes along with us in that journey.
Here's where we start getting into some really nitty-gritty work. The fact is now, you've got some people in mind, so how are we going to do this? There's 5 different tools, or 5 different areas of tools we're going to look at in the next few minutes. And the first one is this, is we want to encourage you to bring together an imaginative hope committee. We're Baptists, we gotta make committees up. But this time, this is a good one. Here's the thing. Some of the people that we just mentioned, maybe those are people you want to bring into this. Maybe there's others who you know, if you brought them alongside you, if they want to come alongside, and you're gonna make this happen now. And so maybe there's some names that you're thinking of right now. Hey, if I ask that person, that person, together we can make Imaginative Hope come alive in our church. And so that's the first tool for you to consider.
And maybe it's you that will bring the toolbox of these other ones. As housemates come up, as our team walks around, we're going to continue with the idea of resources, practical resources that we're saying, hey, maybe we can get in there. There's actual great books that are written. This is written, chapter, I'm going to shout out for you. This is no charge at all, but chapter book is really great. And not to talk about another great author, but this one's pretty good as well, Now and Not Yet. But we've talked about the idea of growing young. There's resources out there that are saying these things matter. You've got our teens here handing a little couple of giveaways away. This is what youth people do best. We love free stuff, and so you're going to see people coming out of our toolboxes. We've got that. We want to meet Gen Z. Gen Z is really this idea of understanding who is this new generation. As we look at how we have resources, there's ways to do evangelism well. There's ways to have great communication. Alpha Youth has released a great video. See, this is a great resource we can do. Guys, as we walk through this, I want you to be thinking, what's maybe one of these resources I need to write down to say, I need to make sure that that's something that I can bring to the team out of my toolbox that we have. You know, the next area is the human resources. Think about this. The human resource that you need to realize is in your toolbox is your mentors. The mentors, the people that are going to walk in the lives. Who are you going to invite in? I have right now, it's beautiful right now, but the youth pastor at my church right now, she's invested in the life of my daughter, and she's right here, a car with my daughter hanging out with her. Bring mentors that you're going to be able to walk in the lives of people. It's not just about money spent on stuff, it's actually the willingness of people, the human resource of through mentors. We also want to look at the idea that there are developmental resources. These are opportunities like today's Teens Conference, where you say, we're going to get trained along the way. You know, you maybe taking someone out for a coffee and saying, hey, we want to do some equipping with you. I may walk you through a Bible study, more personal one-on-one, and develop with you. We've got Horizons training program. We have got different resources that you can find online when you try to see youth or kids. I'd say, hey, there is a lot of ways in which we can see how we can, in our professional development, as volunteers, as leaders, as parents, as youth workers, as grandparents, as church leaders, what are we going to put into our toolbox? And then there's the spiritual resources. But before we hit that, it's tied into developmental and spiritual, where we want to pour into the lives of the young people, so we give them developmental opportunities like our retreats. We see our retreats of Avalanche and Blizzard. The reason we do that isn't just for the wow and just the amazing craziness, but we create these points so that they can be connected. You know, when they look around and they're gathered with 300, 400, 500 other youth, and also they go, I'm part of a larger family of God. And they go, I'm not alone. I feel like I'm alone in my faith, but I'm not the only one wanting to follow Jesus. We have these experiences not just so we can do great tubing, and we do great tubing, but it's because we want them to be connected to each other and to our Heavenly Father, and these tend to be some great experiences. We also have the idea of a Raptors outreach. What we do with this idea is we work with the Raptors. Let's use what is out in the marketplace that students feel safe. It's a safe place to meet them. Before they get into the church, the ACC, the RKS Center, spaces in your community that are neutral places. How do we have places there that we're connecting with kids? And being able to say, hey, there's something more we want to be community, and when you realize that we belong together, there's a chance for you to go a little deeper on your faith. And so our partnership with the Raptors is really kind of an en route to evangelism and sharing that. And so here we are with those spiritual resources that we have. We look at the idea of we want to cover our youth in prayer, our kids in prayer. In November, we do a day for praying for our kids. In June, just coming up on Sunday, is let's pray for our youth. And give focused time where we say we're going to pray first. We're going to be a community that prays first. We're going to be praying for our youth and developing that and putting that in our toolbox. Our sister denomination in Atlantic Canada put together a great resource on how to get to know your neighborhood, how to build relationships and dialogue, understand and reach one neighborhood at a time, and look for resources like this that are going, it's going to help me understand how I can really be effective of serving those outside the walls of our church. You see, when we begin to look at our toolbox and we take these resources with us, we begin to go, there's physical resources that are going to help me along the way. There is the human resources, the people that we have in our churches, one of the greatest supports to reach the next gen. We've got development, we've got events, we've got options, we've got retreats, we've got different means of working together. We've got the spiritual resources. This is the Imaginative Hope working together. We recommend that you put together your own toolbox. Right now, I want you to write out maybe one in each of those areas if you haven't done that yet. There's one thing that you want to add to your toolbox. In each of those areas. A resource, the human resource, professional development resource, and a spiritual resource. They'll be helpful as you go back and you put together this Imaginative Hope committee.
All right. That was the easy part. Here's what we're going to get you to do now. It's time for you to start really thinking through, what is this going to look like? In the next 4 weeks, in the next 6 months, a year, when you come back to Assembly 2019, what are those specific markers that you want to try to hit between now and then? And so here's what we're going to ask you to do. We're going to give you more than a minute this time. We'll give you a few more. We're going to ask you to get together with the people that you came with and start talking this through. Start asking, okay, what's something maybe in one of those, in that first action step that we can do in the next 4 weeks? Maybe something in that second action step that we could actually do in 6 months from now, or that third action step that we're gonna aim for in 1 year. And so if you came with people in your church, we're going to encourage you to talk together. If you came by yourself, find someone around you who came by themselves and get together and share some ideas. The intention is that right now, this 2-page spread that you've got in front of you isn't just going to be something that you go back home later and just kind of put it on the side, and next assembly, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. No, this is something that we want you to take out of your book and just put along your wall to remind you as your Imaginative Hope Committee, this is what we're going to strive for in the first action step. Here's the second one we're going to aim for. Here's the third one we're going to aim for. And so for each of these 3 action steps, think about what you might be able to get to in 4 weeks, in 6 months, in 1 year. So take a few minutes right now, and the house lights are going to come back on, and turn around and get that conversation started right now. Go. Just so you don't forget, we are actually going to finish up with the final thought. So don't go anywhere, keep talking, and then Matt afterwards will come up with a final word for you.
This is one of the most beautiful noises I've heard. The church excited, engaged, and chatting about this journey ahead of us to reach and engage the next generation. We don't stop this because the conversation is still at its peak here. We stop this because this conversation will flow its way out. This epic journey that we have been on this morning continues. This wasn't getting us to an end point. This was getting us to the point where we are just getting started of what it looks like to be a faithful family of churches, desperately in love with Jesus. And because we love Jesus, we love his bride. Because as the bride, we are going to be committed to have this imaginative hope of what things will look like as we reach and engage the next generation. Imagine children bringing their families closer to God. Youth leading our churches into their neighborhoods with the good news. Students introducing their friends to Christ through a vibrant faith. Young adults integrating the values of God's kingdom in all that they do. Families caring for the hurt, lonely and broken together. The next generation being equipped to share their faith and seek biblical justice. Communities valuing and loving and supporting each other. The church fulfilling the call to be God's missional people. All generations deeply in love with God, his church, and his mission. And this is not just merely an imagination. It's an imaginative hope that we are going to see come to reality. Generation Z may be 10 million strong. Many who have never stepped foot in the church. But when we take serious this call, when we painted this new reality, we've imagined a new reality, a new hope that we are going to step into. Let me take you on this journey where we begin recognizing that there was obstacles that we were faced with. Obstacles that we had to unpack and say, as a church, we got to own some stuff. But we love this generation enough that we're willing to change. We're willing to address stuff that's tough. We walked that through and realized that this next generation was providing us opportunities. This generation is providing us, hey, they're ready to lead. We give them opportunities to lead. They want to engage with the cultural issues of the day. They're wanting to be bridge builders, not trying to find what divides us, but why we want to have people out, but saying, how do we connect and be bridge builders so that we can cross lines together and say, we want to see God's kingdom come here. When we lead with love, the generation encounters the sacrificial, loving work of Jesus. We can only see that there is an incredible hope that is before us. Be intentional of those people that you're going to invite to be the who to walk with you in this journey. And build that toolbox. Build it because you really care. On either wall in the back, there isn't a faceless mass of the next gen. There's individual names of kids and youth that you know. That's why we did this today. Because the next generation matters. But it's Grace matters. Joanne matters. Chris matters. McCallion matters. The kids' names that we've written, they matter. So we have an action plan. We're going to take this seriously. We're going to walk this journey. Because we are just getting started. And I want to tell you one thing. The hope in this generation is not lost. It is alive. And our Heavenly Father, through Jesus Christ, goes before us. This generation, we have that imaginative hope. Let's chase it.